Okay, so good morning. I can see Adiolua lady in here. Can you hear me, please? Okay. If you can hear me, can you just send a message in the chat room? Let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. If you can hear me, can you just send a message in the chat room so that I can know that you can hear me. Good morning, everybody. Joel, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir.
Loud and
I'm doing what you said we should do. Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. So let's just wait. Let's just hang around and see if others can join us very quickly. So I want to send the mail just to remind us. Good morning, Mr. Joel. How are you doing today, sir? Hello? Okay, so while we wait for others to join us, let me welcome you officially to the Tosin Odedele Learning platform, otherwise known as TOISLearning. And it's a great privilege to have you join me this morning. So my name is Tosin Odedele, and I am the lead consultant at TOIS. And this morning we have our first guest on this learning platform, and it's a huge privilege to have Mr. Joel join us on our platform this morning. So I'll just allow you to unmute yourself. Let me unmute everybody so that everybody can introduce themselves, and then we'll start off immediately because we have very limited time, and I want us to maximize our time. So let me quickly unmute everybody and then allow you to introduce yourself. So if you can go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the house. Mr. Joel will be introducing himself last. So Mr. Joel, don't be in a hurry to introduce yourself yet. Okay, so I can see we're leaving and joining. So maybe we'll just start off immediately. So Mr. Joel. Hello. Okay, access to share your slide. Just a moment, please. So Mr. Joel, the floor is yours. So while you're introducing yourself, I'll give you access to share your slide.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Joel Adeniyi. It's a great privilege to be here. And well, the purpose why we're here today is to look at the introductory aspects of a monitoring and evaluation. And I just want you to please put your coffee by your side. And don't forget your notepad and your biro while we go on a train to learn what it takes to have a successful project implementation. Welcome once again to this train of shifts. Good morning, everyone.
Okay, so just a minute. Ooh. So, Mr. Joel, can you just go on while I get all of this for you, please. Hello?
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yes, so
Mr. Tosin. Yeah. Okay, I want to ask for a permission.
Okay.
And I would like to please let us just wait for those that are already online, please, can you just permit us to wait for 10 minutes to see whether we can give room for people to join us. And after 10 minutes, we can now start so that when anyone joins while we started, they'll be able to at least, they will be able to at least start with us. So that's what I just wanted to suggest.
Okay, so we should just give time for people to join us, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic.
So on behalf of the participants that are already online, please kindly bear with us. Please kindly bear with us so that we can just give more room for more participants to join us. You can also help in sharing the Zoom link on every of your platforms for your friends that you know that this will be a great benefit to them. Thank you.
Okay, so I think this reference sound.
Amen in Jesus' name.
Was preferred above all others was because an excellent spirit was found in him, and that spirit of God is the spirit of God. In Genesis chapter 41, from verse 38 to 44, Genesis 41, 38 to 44, unto brought Joseph to the top in Egypt was because he had the spirit of God in him that caused him to excel over all the wise men in Egypt. In Acts of the Apostles, chapter 5, if you read from verse 14 to 16, Acts of the Apostles, chapter 5, from verse 14 to 16, here that God performed miracles and wonders by the hands of the apostles. That Peter excelled because in his own case, even his shadow was beginning to heal the sick. In 2 Chronicles chapter 1, from verse 6 to 12, 2 Chronicles 1, verse 6 to 12. Solomon did something nobody had ever done before. He excelled in giving to God. He gave God 1,000 offerings. And then God paid him a visit. He had a divine encounter in which God asked him to ask for anything that he wanted.
I think we should just go on.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
Just go on, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So once again, I welcome every one of us to this wonderful introduction class on monitoring and evaluation. My name is Joel Adeniyi, and I am a co-founder of Mind Innovation Institute, and what our institute is all about is We help in building the capacity of young people with relevant skills and knowledge that will help them to be resourceful, reliable, and responsible wherever they find themselves. And we focus on 4 key areas, which is leadership, career development, technology, and entrepreneurship. So today, we are going to be looking at the basic foundation for monitoring and evaluation. For those that are online, I want you to just please, let's make use of the chat box. I want you to please drop there, what do you expect from this training? Once again, I'll just plead you that please make use of the chat box and type, let us know what do you expect for the training from this introduction class of monitoring and evaluation. And while I was looking at the feedback from people that wants to join in this training, someone said he wants to know about monitoring and evaluation at World Bank standard. Well, that's a very good one. I'll first of all like to say this, that before we can talk about the World Bank standard for monitoring and evaluation, you must first of all understand the introduction part of monitoring and evaluation. Every organization, every international organizations have their own standard. European Union have their own standard for monitoring and evaluation. US Embassy also have the USID, they have their own standard for monitoring and evaluation. But on this note, we'll first of all need to understand the foundational knowledge for monitoring and evaluation. So once again, I would like to talk to the participant to please make use of the chat box and please drop what do you expect from this, training of today. So you can just do that for like 60 seconds. Hello, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, like I said we should just please drop our comment, what do we expect from today's training?
Okay.
In the chat room, in the chat box.
Okay, so please drop your expectations. I know that you actually put them in when you were filling in the forms initially, but would appreciate if you can just reiterate those things that you have as expectations from this training, so that we are very, very certain that we are hitting the sweet spot for you in this training. So please do well to share your expectations once again from this training. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, so while we wait for that,
okay,
shall we go on? Okay, so Elizabeth Tosin says,
okay, so
understand monitoring and evaluation.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tosin. Okay, so while we are waiting for others to drop, let us just continue with the class.
Ogaluchi Osweke says, more insight into what monitoring and evaluation means as regards to projects. So the responses are coming in.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, Osweke, if I'm right with the pronunciation. If I'm not, please pardon me. Elizabeth Tosin, thank you so much for the feedback. Okay, Mr. Tosin.
Yes, sir.
Permission to go ahead, sir.
Yes, go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Okay. Now, before we talk about monitoring and evaluation, I want us to first of all understand that there must be something that is on ground that we are trying to monitor and evaluate. And that is that's what I call a project or a project idea. Now, before I even go to a project, I would like to share with us that our life itself is a project. We also need to evaluate our life daily, monthly, quarterly, whichever way we want it. And what does that mean? What do I mean by that? We need to really evaluate our money to ensure that are we working in the path that we have set for ourselves or not. Now, like I said before, we talk about monitoring and evaluation. There must be something we are trying to monitor and we're trying to evaluate, which is the project. And the project also entails goals and objectives. In other words, there should be a project that we are working towards, we want to achieve. And this project now is being broken into goals and objectives. And these goals and objectives, I'm sure we all know what it takes to have a good goal and objective. And that's why I'm talking about SMART now. That's SMART, which is specific, measurable, accurate, realistic, and time-bound. With whatever goal and objectives that we are trying to achieve, it must fall in these 5 levels, these 5 criteria. Well, that is for the goal setting and using SMART is another lesson entirely. So for us that really want to know more about that, you can get in touch with Mr. Tosin so that we can know how we can talk more, or we can have another class on how to set goals using SMART analysis. So going forward now, I said when we're talking about monitoring and evaluation, there must be a project that we're working towards, and this project has been broken into goals and objectives. So it's these goals and objectives that will form the basis for our monitoring and evaluation. So now, the objectives of this training is 1, we'll be able to define what monitoring and evaluation is, to discuss the purpose of monitoring and evaluation, differentiate between monitoring and evaluation, describe the essential elements in developing a monitoring and evaluation, and lastly, indicator. So like I said, our life itself is all about monitoring, setting our goals that we want to achieve. I'm sure before we started the year, many of us will have set out our plan for the year, the goals that we want to achieve for the year. So, and for us to ensure that at the end of the year we succeed, either at the end of the year or quarterly, or whether quarterly or annually, that we have achieved these goals, is by us, setting some things on ground to really monitor us and ensure that after the year we achieve the goals. So that's just a brief knowledge about monitoring and evaluation. So therefore, monitoring and evaluation is just a routine process of collecting data and to measure the progress of a project, and to also examine or determine to what extent that project has been successfully implemented at different stages in time. Monitoring and evaluation is just simple, because it's simple in terms of is a way of collecting data. Is a routine, is a systematic way of collecting data. And why we collect data, the purpose why we collect data is to measure the progress of that project that we want to achieve. Like I said earlier on, that every project we have or we want to go into will have set out the aims, the goals and objectives for that project. So it is the data we collect from the field, is the data we collect from every of our project activities. Permit me to say this again. This is more of project management. This is more of project implementation, but it's also essential, I say it here, that whenever we set out our goals and objectives, these goals and objectives are broken down into activities. We develop activities that will help us to achieve the goals and objectives. So now, while we are carrying out these activities, we collect data, to measure our progress, that, okay, are we making progress in this project that we are implementing? Are we moving forward, or we are just stagnant? And this monitoring process is done at every point in time, at different stages in time, and at what cost were we able to, achieve progress in the program, in the project that we're implementing. I need you to really understand this, that monitoring itself is a daily routine. We do it daily. As you are carrying out the activity, you are carrying out your monitoring. There are tools that are being developed to really measure the progress that you are making in that project that you are implementing. And let me say this again, that it is a systematic process of collecting the data. We don't collect, in monitoring, we don't collect data anyhow. We only collect data that will be useful for the project that we are doing. We only collect data that we know that are relevant in the project that we're implementing, so that we will be able to measure whether we are progressing or not. And that is why it is systematic. Data collection on its own is a systematic way. Let me just quickly chip in this. There are different ways of collecting of data. We have the one-on-one interview, we have the focus group discussion, we have the key informant, KI, that's key informant interview. There are different ways whereby data are being collected. So whenever these data are being collected, it is then analyzed. It is through this analyzing of data, we will be able to know whether we are making progress or not. The purpose for monitoring is because we want to track and measure the efficiency of the project that we're implementing. And also for an organization has its goals that they want to achieve. So like they also have tools that they develop to track and measure their activities, and as an organization, to ensure that they are achieving the goals and objectives that the organization has set out for the year. Like I said, monitoring is a day-by-day systematic process of collecting data. It is a day-by-day activity. I'm emphasizing day-by-day activity because there's a difference. It's going to point us to the difference between monitoring and evaluation. Please note it is a day-by-day systematic process of collecting data. And after these data have been collected, it is then analyzed. It is through this analyzing of data, we will get to know whether the project is progressing or not. And this is measured based on the goals and objectives that we have set before commencing the project implementation. So like going forward now, monitoring provides a regular, now benefit of monitoring here. I'm talking about the benefit of monitoring. And what is the benefit of monitoring? Sorry. Now, benefit of monitoring is that one, it helps us to know it helps us to get the feedback from the various project activities that we are carrying out. Anything we do in project implementation and we don't get feedback at all, it is termed to be no project done at all. Because it is through this project, it is through this feedback that we do that will help us to know whether the project has been impactful or not. It will help us to know whether the project is something we can continue to do. Now, financially also, when we do this daily measuring of our activities, it also helps us to know the cost implications of what we have done. Let me tell you this, friends. Project plan is one thing. That's when we talk about project proposal. Budgeting is another thing. There are situations at times where you execute a project and you get to know that the amount you spent is either below or above what you budget. And this can only be done, or this can only be known when you monitor your project daily. It is not only about the activities that is being done, it also involves the cost implications in executing those project activities. It will let you know, it will give you the great opportunity to be able to write a good financial report of the activities that you have done. And this will help you to measure whether you have spent more than your budget or below your budget. This is where most of our organizations and companies, they make the mistake. They make mistake when it comes to their financial costs. Now, most donors or most international organizations that sponsor projects, they always have issues with this based on my experience in working with organizations. Sometimes they outshoot their budgets. And this is as a result of not monitoring their project activity accordingly. Not monitoring their project activity accordingly. So because that, they will overshoot their projects. They will overshoot the amount they budget to execute their project. So one important truth that I want you to know here is that monitoring helps you to also know the cost implications of the project activity that you have done. And this will help you to plan according to the budget line that you have in your proposal. So that's one great benefit of monitoring. In summary, I would say monitoring deals majorly on data collection and analyzing of data to track and measure the project implementation. Now, project implementation and monitoring, they go together. You cannot be implementing a project and not monitor it or evaluate it. If you don't monitor and evaluate the project that you're implementing, it shows that you are not properly guided. So monitoring deals majorly on data collection and analyzing of those data that you have collected while implementing that project activity. And this data, whenever they are analyzed, it gives us an idea. It gives us the knowledge to know whether the project that you are implementing has succeeded or not. It also gives us the knowledge of have you spent your money wisely in implementing the project. So that's one of the great benefits of monitoring. So away now from monitoring, let us now go to evaluation. Friends and colleagues, if you have any question, please don't fail to use the chat box and to let me know, and I would quickly attend to your questions. So going now to evaluation. Now, monitor and evaluation, they're like sisters. They're like twins. They cannot do without each other. They almost have the same definition. They only have a little bit of difference in their definition. So evaluation is a systematic process of collecting and analyzing data to assess the effectiveness of the organization, or a process in the achievement of the organization goals or project goals. Now, evaluation, like I said now, is also a systematic process of collecting and analyzing data. Like I said in monitoring, there's a systematic way of collecting data. I gave one example, which is
that's what you're looking for.
You collect data based on your experience, based on the relevant information that you want to find out. And that is why we need to develop tools. What makes it to be a systematic process majorly is because there are tools that are developed. There's a study that is being developed, and it's those tools that will guide us on what kind of information or what kind of data you will collect from the field. And that is why this is where expert comes in. This is where expert comes in to know, okay, what are the tools you want to gather on the field. For example, if I'm told to train 200 young people on leadership, and as a way for me to know whether I've implemented that project, or to monitor and evaluate it, is for me to first of all have an attendance sheet. An attendance sheet is an example of a monitoring tool. Now, attendance sheet. Second one, there's what we call the pre-tests. Pre-tests. Oh my God! I wish, Mr. Tosin, I hope they're going to pay me for these tools that I'm sharing. There's what we call the pre-test tools and the pre-test form. Now, this pre-test form gives us the idea of what knowledge the people you want to train have when it comes to leadership. there are different questions that will be on that tool, which is the pretest tool, to know whether they have a pre-knowledge of leadership. Now, after that pretest, there's what we call post-test. The post-test tool now is what we use to measure the level of the impact of that training. There are different questions that will be asked in that post-test that will let us know that, okay, these 200 people that we have trained, what is our outcome? What is the impact? What is the outcome? And what is the impact? Okay, like I've been instructed now that the first section is going to end in 10 minutes. So please, friends, for many of us, I will still want to join immediately. It logs us out. Please, you can still click on that link and come back online. So like as I was saying, I'm giving an example of a training that I want to execute. Like I want to train 200 young people on leadership. For me to be able to monitor that kind of training, because it's a project activity. For me to be able to monitor that activity, I must have what I call the attendance sheet. What will the attendance sheet help me to do? The attendance sheet will help me to know, did I actually train the 200 young people, or I trained below that, or I trained more than that? Now, I talked about the pre-test and the post-test. The pre-test and the post-test will let us know that, okay, the pre-test will let us know what is the pre-knowledge that the young people have concerning leadership based on the answers they give in the questions on the tools. Now, the post-test is now another, it will still be questions we ask them to know whether they have actually gained from that leadership training that was given to them. When we use this pre-tool and the post-tool, when we look at it and gather it together, we will be able to analyze whether the training has impacted the young people or not. So that's an example of systematically collecting data and analyzing data from the field or from an organization to ensure that we have achieved the organizational goal or project goal. Evaluation majorly deals with the impact. Like I said, it deals with the impact and the outcome of an organization's activity or project activity. Evaluation deals majorly with the impact and the output. Unlike the monitoring just deals with the project activity. Did we carry out the project activity? Did we achieve the goals and objectives? That's what monitoring is all about. But in case of evaluation is more concerned about the impact and the outcome. When we carried out this project activity, did we achieve, was there any impact derived? Was there any outcome derived? And now, for us to be able to know that, let me say this very well, that evaluation is done periodically. It's done periodically, unlike monitoring that is done daily. Evaluation is done periodically. And what do I mean by being done periodically? It is done either quarterly or annually. It is done either quarterly or annually. But one thing that is very, very important about it is that you must ensure you systematically collect the data from the field using your tools. Any project that we do that we are unable to measure the impact, we are unable to measure the outcome, is no project done. And this is where international your sponsors, your donors, or your philanthropists, anyone that is sponsoring your project, this is where they will stand. This is where they will get to know, okay, have you actually, the money we gave to you, was it impactful? For example, I think last year I had the opportunity to monitor and evaluate the National Social Investment Program of the federal government of Nigeria in support of ActionAid. What we did was that it gave us tools to go and gather data in order to measure the level of impact of that NC project. It's called NC, of that project. And when we got there, we used those tools and we got feedback from the participants. Awesome and wonderful feedbacks. It was these feedbacks that we now went to analyze. And after analyzing it, we wrote a report on it. And For many of us that are benefiting from NCIP, Empower today, let me tell you why you are still benefiting from it today. It was that report that we submitted to the federal government that they used to know whether NCIP has made impact or not. That's to know whether the project that NCIP has made impact or not. And at one point in time, federal government wanted to stop that NCIP program because they were not certain whether it was making progress or not. But because we were able to go to field to gather feedback from the beneficiaries and were able to analyze it and present it to the federal government, they had no choice. With the proofs, they had no choice but to continue the project. So that's the benefit. That's the benefit of monitoring and evaluation. It gives your donors, those that want to invest in you, to have the confidence in the project that you are doing, that truly you are making impact or not. But before that can be done, remember I said it is done systematically. It is not anyhow data you go collect from the field. So moving forward, benefit of evaluation, like I've been saying, evaluation provides regular feedback that helps organization analyze the consequences, outcomes, and results of its actions. Your actions as an organization, evaluation helps you to know whether you are on track, whether as you are even on track, are you making impact. So also evaluation also provides regular feedback that helps organizations assess their relevance, scope, and sustainability. You know, I would also like to say this for my friends that are with me now. Many organizations that we have today, they don't have sustainability plan for their organization. Even the projects that they are implementing, they don't have sustainability plan for it. Now, in executing any project, you must, before you execute it, you must have written out your sustainability plan. And this sustainability plan is, what do I mean by that sustainability plan? When this project ends, how will you be able to continue to, follow up to ensure that the impact is continuous? Many projects we do in non-governmental organization, or most of the projects we do, there's no sustainability plan. Immediately the project is being implemented, they forget about it. It's as a result of not having sustainability plan. And see, sincerely with you, the feedback we get from the field helps us to know that, okay, we have our sustainability plan that we have done is making progress. We must again have sustainability plan for our project to be able to measure the impact of the project. Okay, in summary, evaluation is about data collection and analyzing of the data collected to measure the impact of the organization's work. And also an evaluation studies the outcome of a project with the aim of designing future projects. Now, after we have executed the project, like I said evaluation is done either quarterly or annually. After this project has been implemented, now, at the end of the project, when we go evaluate it, it helps us to know whether we need to make further projects. It makes us to know whether are we going to initiate another project or continue in this project. Let me cite an example for us. Immediately HIV was discovered in Nigeria, different international organizations came up to bring money so that people can know their HIV status, and those that are positive, that are reactive, they can go for treatment. Now, a particular organization that sponsored that project is Global Fund. We are having presently now, Global Fund has left Nigeria simply because the impact of the project was not, they did not see it. It was not measurable. And when we sat down to really look at this in Abuja, we got to know that the evaluation procedure of organizations were not realistic enough. We got to know that the evaluation procedure of these non-governmental organizations that executed the project were not realistic enough. They were just giving figures. And that is why I studied that evaluation is a systematic way of what? Of collecting data. You don't just go there and collect data for collecting sake. There must be relevant questions that you must develop that will give
So we will be taking the second and concluding part of this session in the next couple of minutes. So over to you, Mr. Joel.
Okay, let me have an access to share my slides.
Okay, so done, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, boss. Over to you, sir.
Okay, sir, I'm coming up now. Okay, so before we went on that short break, we're looking at the benefit of evaluation. So, and I said that one benefit of evaluation is that it helps us to measure our impact and also helps us to have a sustainability plan. So, and I said in a summary, evaluation is about data collection and analyzing of the data collected to measure the impact of the organization work or the project. And I said that evaluation deals majorly with the impact and the outcome of the project activity that has been done. And I said it very well. I was stating an example of Global Fund leaving the country because they could not see the impact of their money that is spent on HIV and AIDS. And the reason for that was that it was discovered that most of the non-governmental organizations implementing the project, or even let me say also the government themselves, when they were not able to present an evaluation report of the project. So moving forward now, summary of monitoring and evaluation. Monitoring is the continuous routine of continuous routine of data collection in order to measure the progress of a project in line with the program objectives. So now, like I said earlier on, that there must be goals and objectives that we have set aside. It is these goals and objectives that will form basis for our measurement. So now, after we have collected our data and analyzed it, analyzing data will now make use of the goals and objectives to now measure, track, and ensure that, okay, we have achieved our aims, our goals and objectives, and we have made impact. That's where monitoring and evaluation comes in. Evaluation is the use of designed design tools, study tools, to measure the extent to which changes in desired outcomes of the project are attributable to a program intervention. Now, let me state more about this program's intervention. What do I mean by program's intervention? Programs intervention are just the various activities that we carry out in order to meet the needs of the people. For example, when we talk about vulnerability, providing caring for the vulnerable children, project interventions that we carry out can be psychological support, providing educational materials. These are various programs intervention. So now, these interventions that we carry out, which is also known as activities, are what we measure to get to know whether we have made impact in our project or not. Don't forget, I said there's a similar difference between monitoring and evaluation. I said monitoring is done day by day, while evaluation is done periodically. Month is done either quarterly or annually. And monitoring also deals with the activity itself, what is being done, what is the output. But evaluation deals majorly with the outcome and the impact. So now let's look at the relationship between these two. Now the relationship between monitoring and evaluation is that they assist management to know whether program objectives are being achieved. That's the relationship between them. What extent there is need for mid-course correction to address emerging problems in the environment, or an employees effective efficiency, project impact, and maintenance of standards. These are the various relationship between monitoring and evaluation. Monitoring and evaluation helps us to make decisions that would either bring a correction to the project that we are implementing or the organization itself, and if there's in case of any emergency problem, it will help us to take decisions on how to combat the problems. It also helps us to know whether an employee is efficient through monitoring and evaluation. In monitoring and evaluation, there's what we call in monitoring and evaluation of an organization, there's what we call the appraisal form. The appraisal form is what is being put together to measure the level of relevancy and efficiency of an employee in the organization. This is also a means of monitoring and evaluation. So therefore, monitoring and evaluation helps the organization to know whether an employee is efficient or not. That's using the appraisal form. And also project impact. It also helps us to monitor and evaluation, help us to know and determine whether the project has made impact or not. And if it has, it will help us to know whether we need to maintain the standard that we are employing. The standard that we're employing to implement the project, it will help us to determine whether we should maintain it or we should look for other standard that is better. Monitoring and evaluation are two separate things, but they have something in common, which is they deal with collection of data and report the findings. They deal with collection of data and reporting the findings. So that's those are the relationship between monitoring and evaluation. So let's look at the difference now between monitoring and evaluation. Like I said earlier on, I said monitoring is done continually, routinely, and day to day, while evaluation is done periodically, e.g., quarterly, annually, midterm, or at the end of the project. Remember, I said evaluation deals with what? Impacts. It deals with outcome, and the only way we can measure an outcome and an impact or outcome of the project is when the project has been implemented to an extent. We cannot know the impact of the project immediately it is implemented. Please note that very well. All what we can know when we implement a project immediately is just that we can just know the output of the project. For example, I gave an example of training 200 young people on leadership. Now, how will I get to know the output of that project activity? I'll get to know that I'll write it that after the project, 200 young people were trained on leadership. Now, what will now make me to know the impact of the project? Some months later, maybe a few months after the project has been the project activity has been implemented, I can now go to the field to use my tools that have been developed to share. Now, from the tools, I can now get to, from the questions I'm going to be asking that tools, I can get to know that, okay, out of the 200 young people that was trained on leadership, 100 young people were impacted. How will I know about that impact? I will be able to measure their impact based on the questions they were able to answer on the tools I shared. And my questions will be majorly on behavioral change. So by me now asking questions based on their behavioral change, it will help me to evaluate that was the project or the training activity that was carried out, was it impactful? And in my report, my findings, it can be out of the 200 people that were trained, which is the output. Out of the 200 people that were trained, 150 or 100 young people were impacted. That is the outcome, that is the impact. Because I was able to get that based on, I've given them a timeline to go and practice what has been trained. And after giving them a timeline, you know, I went back to the field to gather questions from them, to ask them, to get their feedback. And from that feedback, I was able to know that, okay, these young ones, out of the 200 people that were trained, 150 of them were impacted. So that's where monitoring and evaluation, that's the difference. Evaluation is done periodically, which is quarterly, annually, midterm, or at the end of the project. Also, monitoring, it provides detailed information on the activity. I said it and I'm saying it again, that monitoring deals with project activities, while evaluation, it will give us a summary of the information. That's, it will give us a summary of the information we gathered. It is from this information that we gathered that we will be able to know the level of impact that the project has made. Thirdly, it is used for decision making and project and problem solving. Like I said, you know, while we are monitoring our project day by day, it will help us to take decisions. That would help us to, you know, improve in the way we are implementing our project. And any problem that is being incurred or discovered while we're implementing the project, our monitoring, our day-to-day monitoring will help us to provide a solution to that problem. Unlike evaluation now that is done periodically, it is used to determine how well a program is meeting or has met the goals and objectives of the project. Because evaluation is done periodically, it will only help us to determine whether the program or the project activity is meeting up with the goals and objectives that have been set out. It is by this we're able to know that yes, we have succeeded in the goals and objectives. Lastly, monitoring helps to restructure the activities of the project and teamwork. Now, while we are implementing the project and we are monitoring it, anytime any mistake is made, it helps us to restructure our activity. It helps us to apply new method on carrying out that activity. Okay, I have had an experience of this. Permit me to share this example. When there was one time we got a grant from USAID to help prevent new infection of HIV and AIDS among most at-risk population. Most at-risk population they are the beneficiaries of this project, and they comprise of female sex workers. They comprise of youth that are highly sexual active. Also talks about the road transport users. Now, we had issue with FMW. That's the female sex workers. We had issues with them. Well, we carried out an activity. The activity we carried out first was we went to where they used to say their Odedele, to go and meet them and talk to them about HIV and how to use condom. When we got there, we went there officially. You know, we presented with suits and everything. We went there officially. But when we got there, we noticed that they gave us this appetite and they gave us an indifferent attitude. They were not interested in us at all. So we had to go back to sit down again. Where did we get it wrong? Why did they not give us their interest? Why did they not give us audience? You know, we later got to know that when we went there officially, and we made them to feel belittled because of the kind of business they were doing. So once someone now told us that it will be better for us to integrate ourselves to the system. We should integrate ourselves to their system. Don't let us dress officially or address them officially. Let us talk to them as if we are one of them, we are part of them, and you know, we love what they are doing. We are only trying to make their life better by, you know, giving them this intervention. Now, we were able to restructure our activity because of the problem we encountered, and we're able to discover the problem because we monitored that activity. This is where this comes in. Monitoring helps us to restructure the activity of the program. Whenever we make any mistake in any of our activity, because we have monitored that activity, we will be able to re-strategize. We'll be able to restructure and restructure activities that will help us to achieve success in that program. It will also enhance us to work as a team. That is why it is very, very important that we must monitor our project daily. We must monitor our project daily. It is really, really important. Now going to evaluation. Evaluation helps us, it helps to measure and assess the future of the prospects of the organization or project. Now, this project now, when we evaluate it, or the project activities that we have done, when we evaluate it, it helps us to know what would be the future of that project. How would the project, is the project going to be successful? Is the project going to be, is it going to continue when it ends? And that's where sustainability plan comes in. After we have finished implementing the project based on the timeline, our evaluation will help us to know whether there's a future for the project. Will this project be continued? Will the people that benefited from this project, would they like to take ownership of this project? It is through our evaluation that we'll be able to determine that. Now, purpose of monitoring and evaluation: to make analyzed and informed decision regarding the ongoing project. Monitoring and evaluation helps us to do what? To take informed decisions, qualitative decisions regarding that project that we are implementing. Because we have gotten, through our monitoring and evaluation, we have gotten a lot of feedbacks, we have gotten data, we have processed our data. Now, it is this processed data and the information we get that will now make us to take decisions that will improve the project, or that will make us to determine the future of the project. It also helps us to know the effectiveness and the efficient use of resources. The resources that have been made available for this project, by us monitoring and evaluating the project, it helps us to know whether the resources that have been made available has been utilized efficiently and effectively. It also helps us to track and to know where changes can be made. It helps us to track and know where changes can be made. And also it helps stakeholders and partners come to a conclusion whether the program has succeeded or not. You know, for stakeholders and partners to be able to give more support, our monitoring and evaluation will help us to know whether the project has been successful or not, based on our reports that we're going to give to them. So, furthermore, to inform subsequent decisions about the programs and preserve institutional memories. So evaluation, what evaluation entails now? I would really love to emphasize more on this. Any project that we do and there's no impact measured is nothing at all being done. It is our impact that we make that will speak of the success of the project that we have done, and also as an organization. Now, this evaluation deals with what now? It deals with one: achievements, results, impact, constraints, ongoing needs, cost effectiveness, organizational capacity, community linkages, and sustainability. Because of our time, I won't be able to explain all these documents that entails in evaluation. But let me just pick the few ones. Now, I've talked about impact. Let me go straight to, I've talked about cost effectiveness. Now, let's go straight to organizational capacity. When you evaluate your project very well, it helps your sponsors, your donors to know, or you as an organization to know your level of capacity as an organization. Do you need to develop your capacity in your organization, in your business? When you evaluate the impact of your business, when you evaluate the feedbacks gotten from your business, it helps you to know that, okay, do you need to enhance your organizational capacity? It helps us to know, it helps you to know where you lack as an organization and where you need to improve as an organization. It also helps community linkages. Now, what do I mean by these community linkages? Any project that is being implemented, it is for the benefit of the community. So evaluation helps us to know whether it has brought, whether the project has brought a relationship between the people at the community and the interventions that was given, the interventions that was provided. So that is what, okay, Babatunde Idowu, okay, I will really, what do you consider to develop evaluation tools? Wow, that's okay. When we want to develop, let me quickly attend to that. We want to develop an evaluation tools. It is based on the project that we want to implement. For example,
okay, so if I may come in, I may suggest that you take all questions at the end of your presentation so that you take them all at once. So that
okay, so I would like to take that question after.
Yes.
Sorry, sir. Babatunde, I'm sorry, sir. I would like to take that question after the presentation, sir. So, like I said, community linkages. The project that we have implemented will let us know whether there's a relationship between the community people, that's those that have benefited from the project, and the interventions that you have provided. Now, lastly, I would love to talk about indicator. When we talk about monitoring and evaluation, we must really talk about indicator. And what does indicator mean? Indicator is simply the unit of information that is measured over time, which helps to document the changes that takes place during the project implementation. Indicators are just the unit of information we gather from the field. Now, it is this information that is presented as an indicator. And this indicator now is what makes us to measure the outcome, the output and the impact of the project while we were implementing it. It is this indicator that will give us the light whether we have been able to meet up the goals and the objectives of the project that was implemented or that has been implemented. The indicator helps to provide evidences to various changes that has been achieved. That's what indicator is all about. It helps us to provide, it gives us evidences that, okay, from 1999 to 2000, the leadership training that we did, we have been able to achieve progress in the lives of the young people as a result of the feedback we got from them. So indicators will give us the evidence to see the impact and the outcome that has been made during the project implementation. Importance of indicators now. Indicators serve as tools to examine trends and highlight problems, which can act as early warning signs to predict future conditions. That's what indicators help us to, to really look at, to quickly note the problems that will occur if we are not careful in the future, and quickly provide solutions to the problems. Indicators also help us to compare the targets, it helps us to compare the target audience and to be able to know how to collectively put solutions in place in the problems that we have discovered. Indicators by themselves do not tell managers whether an observed change is acceptable or unacceptable, nor do they necessarily identify the cause of the changes. They don't. The only thing indicators do is just that they help us point out the problems that has been done. And we advance to now sit down to analyze how these problems can be solved. So indicators is very important when we talk about measuring of the outcome and impact that a project has achieved based on our goals and our objectives. So ingredients of an effective indicator. We have one. An indicator must be measurable. It must be measurable. You must be able to measure it. Two, it must be practical. It's not something that you just develop. You must ensure that this indicator that you have set is also reliable, is relevant and direct. It's also sensitive to know whether you are making progress or not. The indicators is direct. It will show us that this is the way to go when we are measuring our impact and we are evaluating our progress in the project. It must also be responsive. That means with time, it must work with time. Whenever an indicator gives us a problem that has been discovered, ours is to what? Is to provide solution to it. That's why it is responsive now. It must be responsive. It must show us where problem has occurred. And it must be objective. Indicators must be very objective that, okay, this is what we stand to achieve. So in conclusion, because of our time, in conclusion, the success of a project is not known by the numbers of the activities carried, but by the measurable outcomes and impact achieved in the project implementation. And for us to be able to measure the impacts, the outputs, the output and the outcome of every project implemented, it is through monitoring and evaluation. So at this point, let me just quickly, because of our time, I think we have less than 8 to 5 minutes now. Okay, so let me attend to the question.
So
okay.
Let's take Mr. Babatunde's question.
Okay, so the question is, what do you consider to develop tools? Now, when developing tools for evaluation, it depends on the kind of project that is being implemented. But what is being, the tools that we develop is now, we first of all consider the knowledge base. We first of all consider the knowledge base of the participants or the beneficiaries. Before I talked about the pre-test, the post-test. The knowledge base, one, the behavioral base. These two things are very important when we want to develop an evaluation tools. What is the knowledge base? What is the knowledge base of our participants? What is their behavioral? What is their behavior like? Behavioral base in developing a tool. Now, I would like to state an example here also that will be practical. Some years, like a project that we did with the FSW, one of their behaviors was that they have this issue with using lubricant. Please permit me to say this. Lubricant, and what is lubricant? What is lubricant about? Is an ointment that helps effective sex, that makes sex to be very enjoyable. Now, they don't like lubricant, and our duty or the project we are implementing then was to make sure that we prevent new infections of HIV and AIDS. And we discovered that most of these female sex workers, why they don't use lubricant is because it causes it itches them. They don't have, they normally buy fake lubricant. When in developing our evaluation tool, we're able to discover that they have a negligent behavior for lubricant. And this now made us to now look for a very healthy lubricant for them so that they can use. The reason why I'm saying this is because we are working towards preventing new infections of HIV and AIDS. And this FSW, they are major carriers of HIV. And that was why we chose them as our target audience. And to be able to achieve this, to reduce the HIV and AIDS that we're looking at, we must know why is it that they have high rate of HIV among them. Some of them, and that's what I'm saying, some of them don't like the use of lubricant because lubricant itches them. And what lubricant does is that it makes penetration to be okay for them. But some of them don't like it. So we had to talk to them and introduce another lubricant that our donor provided for us. We introduced it to them and they had a change of behavior or a change of mindset on the use of lubricant. So in determining or developing, what's it called now, evaluation tool, two basic things we need to look at very well is the knowledge base of our beneficiaries and the behavioral base of our beneficiaries. So I hope that question has been answered, sir. Any further question?
Okay, so Mr. Babatunde, has that question been answered?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Adeniyi. I was just trying to compare it in terms of organization and the project. Like you already said, you're talking about knowledge and behavior. And in organization, when we are evaluating, we look at the what are we measuring? And what is the behavior in terms of how did you achieve what you are achieving? So I was just trying to clearly look at it that when we are looking at the project, the elements could be different a bit from the organization, but similarly they look alike, so the what and the how. So in this now, you wanted to evaluate what makes them enjoy the sex in terms of lubricant, and what is their behavior in terms of, is this a smell, this is to make this easy. So I was just trying to get the clarity, but I think I was able to get it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Babatunde. So do we have any other question? Okay, so Mr. Timothy says, I joined late, but I caught a few tips. Well done, and thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Timothy Beja, alumnus of FGC.
Hi, Janito.
Okay, so we'll be rounding this off now in about 5 minutes. And I want to thank every one of us that has joined in for this session, from Adetutu to Marugu, to Grace, to Bogaluchi, to Patrick O, to Omotola, to me. Then for those that joined the first session that couldn't join in this second session, we had Olumide Peregrino and some other people that also were part of that first session. So I want to thank you very much for being a part of this. There's going to so this is just an introductory session that we had. So we plan to hold a more detailed session of this particular course, monitoring and evaluation course, sometime in July, and that is going to be a paid session. Okay, that's going to be a paid session, and we'll be passing across that information to every one of us that registered via mail. If you were invited by a friend, if you did not register through your email, please just kindly drop your email here so that we can capture your email and send you details of that particular session. This is, like I said, this is just an introduction, just for you to have an idea of what monitoring and evaluation is all about. For those of us that are implementing projects in the organization or in the development sector, we will be holding a more detailed session in July, and Mr. Joel Adeniyi will be the facilitator for that particular session. So if you enjoyed this session, you can be guaranteed that that session will be worth your investment, and it's not going to cost you too much. I can guarantee you that. Mr. Joel, am I correct?
Yes, sir. Permit me to say this. And what that monitoring and evaluation, the detail is going to be about what are the global standard of developing a tool, just like Mr. Babatunde Idowu said. Now, tools are developed based on the project we want to implement. And also note that both monitoring and evaluation, they are systematic way of collecting of data. So the systematic way now is what we really need to now look at. What is the European Union standard for monitoring and evaluation? Please let me state it. For many of us that are into NGOs, if you don't have a monitor and evaluation plan or a monitor and evaluation framework for your organization, you can't successfully get funding from international organizations. They are very, very keen on monitor and evaluation plan that you have for your organization. And this monitor and evaluation framework, I won't lie to you, there's a template that is being used. So we are going to be looking at what are the various templates that USAID considers to be the acceptable one for monitor and evaluation plan. So all these organizations, they have their own different templates. So that's what we are going to be looking at in our subsequent training that's going to be detailed. Thank you so much, Mr. Tosin.
Okay, so Grace says, thank you, Joel. This was really insightful. So we thank you very much for being a part of this session. We will be coming again with another free session later, also in July, and it's coming up with another topic. So like I said, the TOISLearning platform is just an opportunity for us to learn skills that can help us advance our career wherever we are and whatever profession it is that we find ourselves. And we'll be having these sessions every month. We'll bring in a guest to talk about different skills and different topics with us. And so if you'd like to learn more about our courses that we offer at Tosin Odedele Impact Solution, please do visit our, okay, so Mr. Omotola Akim Molayon drops his email, so I've noted that. So visit our email address, visit our website for more details on the courses that we have on offer. And you can contact us and register for any of our courses. If you want to call us, just call us on the number that I've dropped down there for you, so that you can just reach out to one of our agents and get more information about what we do. And that's our email address. So Superintendent Patrick Okafor says, nice one. M&E is an extremely important aspect of management. SP Patrick Okafor is also an alumnus of FGCL, and thank you very much. We seem to get a lot of support from the FGCL group this morning. Thank you very much for being a part of this. So let's hope to see you again during our next session. Thank you very much for joining me. Mr. Joel, can you drop your contact very quickly so that they can actually get in touch with you, your phone number and your email address in case somebody wants to contact you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, let me quickly do that.
Any information. So while Mr. Joel is dropping his contact, please pick it up. Thank you very much once again for being a part of this session. We are totally grateful. And once again, my name is Tosin Odedele, and I'm the lead consultant at Tosin Odedele Impact Solutions. What we do is we are committed to helping individuals and organizations succeed, and we do so by providing training, coaching, and consultancy services that help you stay ahead in the game. So thank you very much for joining in. Mr. Joel has dropped his number. Mr. Babatunde says, well done, Joel. Proud of you. Thank you very much.
So let me say, please permit to say this. Mr. Babatunde is my big mentor.
Wow.
So I really thank you, sir, for having time to join us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So we'll see you again. So I'm going to be sending so these sessions were actually recorded on video. So I'm going to send a copy of the video to everybody. That's why, oh, me, okay, sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so it says, I'm happy to see the growth with mind initiatives. Oh, thank you very much, me. Can you give us a full
MI. Thank you.
MI, what's the full name? What's the full meaning of MI? I'm just calling it me. So I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to send the video, the recording, to everyone's email address. So if you are yet to drop your email address, please do so that I can. Clementina Busayo, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Clementina.
Oh, Clementina Busayo.
Clementina says, I'm happy to see the growth with mind initiatives. Thank you very much, Clementina.
Thank you. We
really appreciate it. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Okay, so at this point in time, I like to call it a wrap. I like to call it a wrap. Thank you very much to each and every one of you that joined in today. I'll be sending you an email, like I said earlier on, just to give you an update of everything that happened today. Okay. Thank you very much, and stay safe and stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.